Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya He Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari He Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradari Jai Gopi Jana Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Natira Vanachari Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhans Prabhupada Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrind Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivind Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Brajbhumi Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Navdeep Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri कपूरी धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री गौर निताय की जय, श्री राधा वल्लभ की जय, श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा दी की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदी। All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurulmiltam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swayam Padantikam. Vandeham Shri Gurum Siddhapada Kamlam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadbhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Tam Sajivam Vanchakalpatarubhaischa kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So we are speaking today on Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 32, Text number 2. Dikshita Brahma Satrena. Dikshita Brahma Satrena. Sarva Bhutatma Madhasa. Sarva Bhutatma Medhasa. Paschimya Drishtya Vedayam. Paschitayam Drishi Velayam. Siddho Abhuta Yatra Jajalihi. Siddho Abhuta Yatra Jajalihi. Dikshita Brahma Satrena. Sarva Bhutatma Medhasa. Praschim Dishi Velayam. Dishado Abhuta Yatra Jajalihi. Dikshita Brahma Satrena. Sarva Bhutatma Melada Medhasa. Paschyam Drishi Velayam. Siddhyo Bhuta Yatra Jajalihi. Dikshita Brahma Satrena. Sarva Bhutatma Medhasya. Praschyam Dishi Velayam. Siddhyo Bhuta Yatra Jajalihi. Dikshita Brahma Satrena. Sarva Bhutatma Medhasya. Praschityalam Dishi Vedam. Siddho bhuyatra jajali. Mataji. Dikshita brahma satrenaha sarva bhutatma medasaha prasimdam disi velayaham. Dikshita, being determined. Brahma satrehena, by understanding of the Supreme Spirit. Sarvaha, all. Bhuta, living entities. Atma medhasa, considering like oneself. Paschitayam, in the west, and Dishi, direction. Velayam, on the seashore. Siddha, perfect. Abhut, became. Yatra, where. Jajali, the great sage Jajali. Translation. The Prajat went to the seashore in the west where the great liberated sage Jajali was residing. After performing the spiritual knowledge by which one becomes equal towards living entities, the Prajatas became perfect in Krishna consciousness. Prepared by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jaya. The word Brahma Satra means cultivation of spiritual knowledge. Actually, both the Vedas and severe austerities are known as Brahma. Vedas Tatam Tapo Brahma. Brahma also means the absolute truth. One has to cultivate knowledge of the absolute truth by pursuing studies in the Vedas and undergoing severe austerities and penances. The Prachetas properly executed this function and consequently became equal to all living entities. As Bhagavad Gita confirms, Brahma Bhuta Prasha Atma na sochati na kanchati Samma Sarvesu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labhyate Param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. When one actually becomes spiritually advanced, he does not see the difference between one living entity and another. This platform is attained by determination. When perfect knowledge is expanded, one ceases to see the outward covering of the living entity. He sees rather the spirit soul within the body. Thus, he does not make distinction between a human being and an animal, a learned Brahman and a Chandal. Vidya vina he sampate brahmane gavi hastini suni chaiva swava pake cha pandita sama darshina. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahman, a cow and elephant, a dog and a dog eater. That is in Bhagavad Gita, verse 5:18. A learned person sees everyone equal on a spiritual basis, and a learned person, a devotee, wants to see everyone developed in Krishna consciousness. The place where the Prajatas were residing was perfect for executing spiritual activities, for it is indicated that the great sage Jajali attained mukti, liberation there. One desiring perfection or liberation should associate with a person who is already liberated. This is called sadhu sangha, associating with a perfect devotee. So according to this verse, after perfecting the spiritual knowledge by which one becomes equal towards all living entities, one becomes perfect in Krishna consciousness. So how do you come to this stage? This is the basic knowledge we get in Bhagavad Gita. This is the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. And when Arjun asked Krishna to take him to the middle of the armies where he saw both sides, and on one side, on whom he was supposed to fight, where his guru, Dronacharya, his grandfather, Pitama Bhisham, his brothers, his sisters, brothers, uncles, sons, they were all relatives there. And then he was thinking, why should I kill them? Because this is our nature. When we want something, we want to show off too. So if I kill all the people and there's no one to show it to, then what's the point of doing all those things? Understand what I'm saying? You want opulence and everything. You want a nice house, Most of the time it is not for your own self. It is just to show it to other people that you have this. And if they are not there to enjoy it, then what is the point, Right? You can live in a very humble way, right? So this is one of the other reasons, You want other people to see and be part of it. You want to enjoy it. And when Arjuna saw that if you're going to kill all those people, then what is the point of this, right? And then Krishna, after he complained about this, he gave a lot of reasons why he shouldn't be killing. And Krishna says, you're talking like a pandit, But what you are is confused, The soul never dies. It's never born, never dies. And if you understand this basic knowledge, then you won't be worried about this. So this is what this particular verse is trying to explain. That once we understand that we are not this body, we are a spirit soul. And then you see everybody as equal. So that's the first status. But then there are a lot of people like the Mayavadis, they also see the same thing. They understand that we are not this material body, we are a spirit. But they think there's no supreme spirit, there's no super soul. They take everybody as equal. So we have to understand there's different phases of it. One is to understand that we, the living entities, are just Atma. We are minute. We are the seventh. But there is a supreme soul, the super soul, who is above us, who is the controller, who is the master. And the living entities are the seven. So unless you distinguish between the two, then it is not full realization. Even understanding the super soul is not full realization. Super soul is just an expansion of Krishna, but it's not a complete. Because the super soul stays with the soul, but it does not communicate with them in a direct communication. There's no direct reciprocation going on there. So even you can see that beautiful form, most of the time the yogis who meditate on them want to merge into them. Right? So they are known different from the Mayavadis. But a devotee sees there's a distinction. There is a soul and there is a super soul. But above that, there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, to whom we can actually reciprocate from whom we can have a relationship. Relationship is very important because for a relationship, we need more than one person. You can't have a relationship with yourself. You need two people to have a relationship with. Right? So to have a relationship, Krishna needs other living entities. And that's where we come into the picture. So we can actually have a relationship with Krishna where we can serve him with love and devotion. The nature of Krishna that he is always happy. So if you are with Krishna, we'll always be happy. But the problem in the material world is that material nature is, which also is part of Krishna's nature. So there is a yogmaya. When you are in the spiritual world, everything is perfect because we are with Krishna, we are reciprocating with Krishna. There is no distress, no unhappiness, nothing in there. But in the material world, the duality comes into the picture. So there's two of them. There's happiness, there's distress. There's birth, there is death. There's old age, there's, and the people are young. So everything has two of it. And that's what the material world is all about. But one who understands this, understands that life is like a flowing river. Right? The nature of the river is continually flowing. So similarly, we take birth, we live for time, then we die, and then we take birth again. Similarly, the happiness and distress are like seasons. Sometimes it's cold, next time it's springtime, it's nice like that. So nothing is permanent in this material world. And if you understand this, first that we are the Atma, we are not this body, and second is that because of our karma, because of our past deeds, whatever we have done, we are here, we are going through certain circumstances, we are going through certain sufferings and things like that. This is all temporary. So if somebody is sick, a jnani doesn't get affected by it. He knows that over a period of time he's going to get back better. Then he'll be well, he'll be happy, and then you're going to get sick again, So all these things is temporary. It's not a permanent situation. So if you understand this, then you become qualified in Krishna consciousness. But Srila Prabhupada very nicely takes it to the next level. That what is the difference between a devotee and one who has realized this level. So to be in this level where you see every living entity, whether it is a tree, plant, dog, animal, a Brahman, a sannyasi, a grasta, a brahmachari, or a Sudra, or a Brahman, if you look at all of them on the same level, that is called Uttam level, the topmost level. In this level, you see everybody as devotees of Krishna because you're only seeing the level of the soul. You don't see the covering of the body. And at this level, then you don't see anybody suffering. You see everybody as devotee of Krishna except yourself. So you think everyone is devotee, everyone has got Krishna's mercy, they are devoted to Krishna, but we are not. But if you're there in the material world, how does he see that? He understands that it is Krishna's energy. So everything is under control of Krishna. The energy is under the control of the energetic. Maya is also control of Krishna, under the control of Krishna. So, understanding this, he sees that whatever is happening under the direction of Krishna. Whatever is happening in the spiritual world, this is a reflection. They have parents there, they have children there, they get married, there's a grasta life there, there are Brahmins there. If you read pastimes of Krishna, you'll see the Brahmins are chanting the mantras. There's so many grasta families there, there's so many little kids are there, kids are born in there, there are cows there, they milk the cow, Yashoda Maya gets up in the morning, makes butter, she cooks. We're doing the same thing here. So a devotee sees that everything is happening under the direction of energy of Krishna. But those who do not understand that there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, they're not devotionally inclined, then they come under the dueling energy of Krishna, which is Mahamaya. So what Prabhupada is saying that a devotee is happy when he sees that everyone is Krishna conscious. Everyone is engaged in Krishna consciousness. So even Srila Prabhupada is Uddham Adhikari. He's there are 9 divisions. It's not just Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttam. There is Kanishta, Madhyam Kanishta, Uttam Kanishta. Then same way, Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttam Madhyam. Right? So similarly there is Kanishta, Uttam, Madhyam Uttam and Uttam Uttam. So Prabhupada being the topmost, a Paramhamsa, right? But if he was at that level, then he would see everyone as devotee of Krishna. So you have to come to the Madhyam level, to the next level where you can differentiate that, okay, he is not a devotee. He is still covered by the dueling energy of the material nature. You have to come to the level of understanding where Krishna consciousness is. So at Madhyam level, you see people in 3 different levels, those whom you are preaching to. First, they are devotees of Krishna. Then the next level is those who are favorable to Krishna consciousness. This next group is, they're neutral. They have no enmity against Krishna, neither they have enough knowledge to be favorable. And then the unfavorable group. So at this Madhyam level, then you start preaching to those who are favorable to Krishna consciousness and those who are on the neutral level. Because neutral level, by giving them knowledge, you can make them favorable. But those who are unfavorable, you generally leave them aside. Just like the Mayavadis and those. Unless you are so powerful that you can actually preach to them and change their mind. Because by preaching to them, this is also a mercy of a Vaishnava. Because by preaching to them, what will they do? They'll commit more offenses. They'll commit offenses against the Vaishnava, they'll commit more offenses against Krishna. So rather than making their situation worse, at least leave them where they are. Now there are a lot of time when devotees are serving so nicely in the temple and then they leave the temple. What is the main reason for that? They've been serving the temple for so nicely and then all of a sudden they leave, What is the main reason? It's mostly because we commit aparadh. It's mostly we commit Vaishnava aparadh. And when you have this mentality that committing Vaishnava aparadh, then Krishna knows that I know it's good for you to stay in the temple, but by associating with devotees, if you're going to commit more Vaishnava aparadh, your situation is going to get worse. So it is best I take you away, put you somewhere else, where your situation at least doesn't deteriorate. Because if you're not making advancement and you're going down, so this is not the right situation for you. So if you are doing some nice service and somehow or the other, if your service is taken away, you are not able to actually do service, you have to actually see for yourself what is going wrong, what is going right, where did I go wrong, right? And then you try to find out, okay, did I commit a Vaishnava aparadh? It's generally the Vaishnava aparadh that actually pushes us in that direction. So we should be very careful in that sense. It's the most important thing, as Srila Prabhupada said, that to make spiritual advancement, we need sadhu sangha. Because of all the things, sadhu sangha is the most important. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us 5 things if you want to actually have Braj Bhakti. And what are those? Chanting the holy name of the Lord, sadhu sangha, reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, deity worship, and living in the Dham, right? So of all of these, the most important is sadhu sangha. Because sadhu sangha, what it does is, when you are with the sadhus, what do? You chant the holy name of the Lord. You listen to the katha, which is basically what Bhagavatam is all about, right? You do deity worship. And then, most of the time you get inclined to go to the Dham, or at least you are mentally there. So sadhu sangha covers all of those, and this is the most important. But at the same time, one has to be very careful not to commit Vaishnava aparadh. Living with devotees is great, but sometimes we take it very cheaply, because we are with so many devotees, we do not understand, and then we start offending devotees. We have to be very careful. Right? So, this is what Prabhupada is saying. Our movement is not realizing everybody is a soul, right? And then forget about it. Our movement is preaching. This is what movement this is about, or this is all about. And 5,000 years ago, when Krishna was living, Ganga Devi went to Krishna and she was praying to Krishna that you are living, you have been so kind, you've been here by this, so many devotees. But Kali Yuga is approaching. What's going to happen then? Everybody will be sinful. They're going to come and bath in here, And what's going to happen to us? So Krishna told Ganga Devi, do not worry. After 5,000 years, I'm going to appear here in my name as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give Krishna's name. So the main incarnation for Kali Yuga is Nam. Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Kevalam, Kalau Nastev, 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 Gaturanata. So 5,000 years after Krishna left, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he gave us this Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is the means, right? And she said that at that time, for the next 10,000 years after that, the holy name will be chanted in every town and village. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said the same thing. Narad Muni also said the same thing, that his devotee will come and preach all over the world, right? And this is where we are. So the next 10,000 years being in the movement of Prabhupada, basically means the preaching. This is the movement of giving, it's not the movement of sitting down and accepting, And what is the best way to preach? That's one way. Harinam is another way. Book distribution is the main way. If you distribute Prabhupada's book, then Prabhupada will take care of the rest. If you can distribute enough books for everybody in the world, if they can hold a Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita in the hand, any of Prabhupada's book, then the whole world will be liberated. Right? Once His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj was in Fiji and he said, okay, today we're going to go and distribute books. So in Fiji, devotees don't usually do that, Fiji is a place for prasadam, I think just by taking prasadam, they'll go back to Godhead, And Prabhupada said that, he just feed them prasadam, it's enough to take them back to Godhead. But Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, okay, everybody go and do book distribution today. So he gave them books and everybody took their books, and when in the afternoon he called them, and said how many books he did. And one of the very senior devotees, he called me, how many books he did? He said, I went, sold one book, And he said, how long did you go for? He said, I was there for about 3 hours, And he said, what were you doing for 3 hours? He said, I went there, I sat down, I preached to them, and then I convinced them, then I sold the book, And Tamal Krishna Maharaj, that's not what I asked you to do, Your 3 hours of preaching is nothing, You just give Prabhupada's book and you move out, Go to the next house. Let Prabhupada take care of that. Let his books take care of that, So that's what we should be trying to do, Distribute Prabhupada's book, and if somebody reads a page, opens the book, even touches the book, they get so much advancement. Once Prabhupada was walking in the morning and somebody said, good morning to Prabhupada. And he said, he has made so much advancement just by wishing me good morning. If somebody just wishes somebody, a Vaishnava or devotees, something nice, they make advancement by holding Krishna in their hand, by holding the words of Krishna, how much more advancement they're going to make. So this is our movement, it's more for preaching. I know in the beginning we all thinking about going back to Godhead, but eventually and slowly we realize that, it's more and more devotees are saying, we'll go wherever Prabhupada is, And we know that, they don't care wherever Prabhupada is. If he's in another material world, we'll go there, We're going to go and preach there, we're going to do Harinam as long as we can remember that. As long as you give a mridanga to Prabhu, he doesn't care where he is, right? So this is the mood we have to develop, the preaching mood, right? And then to understand that it's not our happiness that matters. Eventually we have to come to the stage that Krishna's happiness matters the most. Because that's the ultimate goal. This is the Braj Bhav. If you go to Vaikuntha, there is a little bit of what we want, right? We want position, we want to be, looking same as Krishna, right? Because everybody has 4 arms there, right? When we go to Dwarka, even the queens, is 50-50, When there's a marriage, there's 50-50, half yours, half boys. Krishna doesn't have his way all the time, The queens also have it, because that's what marriage is, right? It's not one way. But Braj is completely different. Everybody is doing what Krishna wants. And what is Krishna doing? Everything that everybody else wants. Braj is the only place where Krishna runs after the devotees. Everywhere else, the devotees are running after Krishna. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, as you reciprocate, I And as you surrender, I reciprocate accordingly. But to the, what does he tell the Braj Gopis, I can't repay you. I can't reciprocate to you because you have given yourself completely to me. You don't care about the religion, religion of a wife. They were all married. They didn't care about that. They didn't care what the society was going to think about them. They didn't care what about the parents going to think about them. All they wanted was to save Krishna. Right? So they gave up everything. How can you repay someone? Krishna says, I can't repay you, Let your devotion be, let your service be a reward for whatever your devotion is. So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is trying to give us, right? It is Krishna's happiness, and that's what we should focus on, right? Listening, why I was emphasizing more on the books is that because these books are words of a pure devotee. So whatever Prabhupada has written there, if you have complete faith in that, this is our problem. We do not have faith in the words of the spiritual master and the acharyas. That's the major problem. If we have faith on the words, we will surrender. When Krishna says, Sarv dharam parityaja mam ekam sharanam bhaja, surrender unto me completely, and I'm going to get rid of sin. We don't believe in that. We don't do it. We still try to hold on to our bank balance, our house, our business, our property. We're trying to make sure that we are safe. We're not saying that, okay, if I surrender, I save Krishna, He'll look after us. There is a story where there was a sage who was living in one of his kutia, one of his huts, And it was in a nice place, nice forest area, and he was meditating there for a long, long time, And there was a hunter who used to go, just bypass where the sage was staying. Every time he'll go, he'll pay respect to the sage and go and catch his animals and come back. And this was going for a long time. And one day the hunter says, I go to the forest to catch animals, What do you go for? What are you trying to catch here? You are also in the forest. Whom are you trying to catch? What are you trying to catch? And the sage said, I'm trying to catch Krishna. And the hunter said, who is Krishna? And he says, oh, he's a 16-year-old boy. He is like the monsoon cloud, right? He wears yellow garments. He decorates himself in forest flowers. He wears a turban with all different kind of flowers on it. And he has a beautiful peacock feather hanging on his head. He also carries a flute. He says, oh, that is Krishna. So he got enough description. He said, don't worry, Every day I catch animals, Because you are here, you probably don't know how to catch, So I'll catch Krishna for you. So he went and set up the trap, Nicely, right? Okay, put the net around and waiting for Krishna, One day passed, nothing happened. Night went past, nothing happened. Forget about the animal, Second day, second night, nothing happened. Third day, third night, nothing happened, And then Krishna is watching how determined this person is, And then he comes, gets himself caught, So he says, oh, you are Krishna? Yeah, okay, I caught you, right? So he takes him to the sage, And he calls the sage, hey, sage, come here, I've got your Krishna here, Krishna, sage comes out and says, Krishna pays his down towards everything, and he says, my Lord, forget about this life, this day, this month, this year, I've been trying to catch you for many, many lifetimes. I've been such a devoted person to you, I haven't been able to catch you. And this hunter, he didn't even know you 3 days ago, right? How did he catch you, And Krishna said, there's two reasons, One was his determination to catch me. He was so focused in that he wanted to catch. And the other one, he had complete faith in the words you said. That this is what Krishna looks like, he is here, we can catch him. And that was the reason why he came. So it was not because of his karma, of what kind of life he led. It was purely because he believed in the word of a sadhu, a saint. And he said, because of these two reasons, I got caught so I can give you darshan to him and to you. Right? And this is the important thing. We do not have faith in the scriptures. Right? It is one of the 10 offenses to the holy name, not to have complete faith in the scriptures after reading it. Right? Otherwise, if we understand one verse, even if you understand that we are not this body, we are the soul, and we should treat everybody equally, then everything changes, So we should actually take our time, we should actually preach as much as we can. We should distribute Prabhupada's book as much we can, Chant, do Harinam, because this is the yuga of the holy name. Chant holy name as much as possible, and time for yoga. See, that's another thing, So finally, you can probably come to the stage where you can, meditate on the Supreme Soul, but you should understand that the Super Soul is Krishna. So that is otherwise doing exercise is karmakanda, So this is what we should focus on. So we come to the level that we understand that everybody is the devotee of Krishna. Some of them have forgotten that, and we should actually preach to them. That's what Prabhupada's main purpose of these things. He's taken it away one level further, not just seeing everybody as the soul, but understanding that some of them are, most of them in this material world means that they are covered under the illusory energy. They want to be Krishna rather than servant of Krishna, right? And we do this all the time, We also try to be controllers, Right? We want to be that basically is position of Krishna. Servant means subservient. So anyway, even at home, as a husband and a wife, the husband wants to be the controller of the house. The kids want to be a controller of the house, And because we do not have one controller in the house, that's where all the problems is happening. Especially this time, there's so many violence going in the houses. People are, suicidal. My daughter was telling me the other day, she said, you should talk to your friends, make sure they are okay at this time, because the number of suicides are happening much, much more because people don't know what to do. And one of the reasons is that I was listening to Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, he said, in India, sometime back, even probably now, in a small house, you can have 10, 12 people living peacefully, no problems, The grandfather, the son, the brothers, and their kids, and their wives and children. So there could be like 3, 4 generations living in a house very peacefully, right? As much as possible, In the West, you have 4 people, husband, wife, 2 kids, and there's a big problem there. It's almost impossible to live. That's why as soon as the kids get married, they either kick the parents out of the house, put them in the nursing homes, or they move out themselves. And he said the reason is because of leadership. In the Vedic system, there is one leader, right? And he's the oldest person in the house. So the grandfather or the grandmother, right? They are the leaders, right? They control the whole house, right? Whatever they say, that's what it goes. 4 people, all are leaders, right? So he said that it's like, you go to a lake, the water is still, right? Okay, you put one stone in one place, and there's ripples created, right? You can put 100 stones in the same place. All those ripples will never collide. They're gonna just go uniformly, right? But you have same, and then you put 4 stones in 4 different places, they all create ripples like that. And they collide, right? So this is important. If we can bring Krishna as the center, He is the origin, and then we all surrender onto Him, He becomes the focal, and then everything works in, okay. So in this in our movement, Prabhupada is the center. Prabhupada is wherever Krishna is. So if you understand this, then we serve Prabhupada, then there is no difference in there. Everything becomes perfect. Hare Krishna Prabhupada. So that's what we have to do. We have to focus on that. We have to make center, Krishna is the center. And we walk around him. We try to do what pleases Krishna. And if all of us does that, then there would be no issues. But if I want to do my way, the other person wants to the other way, then there'll always be collision, There'll be always issues in there. Right? So we should focus in that way, and then we should actually try to do what Krishna wants us to do. Krishna said the best devotees are those who preach about him. Right? To preach, you have to understand, you have to read. This is the beauty about preaching, that you have to spend so much time reading, so much time understanding, so that you can impart the knowledge. Right? If you don't preach, most of the time you don't read. If you read, then you want to preach because you want to give that knowledge to, And Prabhupada has given us so well, you keep reading it, just amazed, And even now things are much easier, that if you just want to pick a particular word and you just, search it, it gets so many times the same thing is being used, and then Prabhupada explains it in different ways at different levels, So, the main point is, we try to see everybody as same. That's the main thing that this verse is trying to explain. Prabhupada has taken it to the next level, that we don't only see everybody as Atma, everybody as a soul, but we also see that there's Krishna there. So Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are the servants of Krishna. And in the material world, we have to preach the message of Krishna. We have to make everybody Krishna consciousness. And that's where the happiness of a devotee lies. Take. Any questions, any comments?
Like you were saying, in West, generally these days, in a house, when there are 4 people, there will be 4 rooms, and each one of them are in 4 different rooms.
Yeah.
Never come together.
Yeah. I had a friend who told me, when I was building this house, 20 years ago, he was from India. I think he had 2 kids or 3 kids, 2 kids, 2 girls. And he said, I give you one advice. He said, don't build a double-story house. And I said, why? He said, I've got a double-story house. We have both got a room for us downstairs. The kids' rooms are upstairs, and we don't see them. The only time we see them is when they want to eat something. Right? I built a ground floor story house, but same thing, my kids, My daughter comes to see when you eat, or she comes and says hi to you, 5 minutes later they're in their room doing whatever they want on the computer or whatever, And we don't spend time together. Unfortunately, that's the way we have brought the kids up, Right? And because we don't have a nice relationship with them, we don't know what they are doing, this is where all the problems are. We're not talking about this, In the West, the other major problem is that, just like in the Vedic scriptures said that one should take advice from a Brahman because they are the ones who are in knowledge, right? A sannyasi, a Brahman, one who is a devotee. There's another person we can always take in knowledge from is people who are elderly, because they have learned through experience. And that knowledge is as good as what's in the scriptures. So if they tell you something through experience, but what do we do in the West? We don't keep them. Our kids are growing without the guidance of our parents, of their grandparents. This is where the wisdom is. This is where they had lived through the life, My son says, I don't know anything because they know everything. It's all on the Google, You ask them something, he says, no, that's not right. You tell them something, this is what's in the scriptures, he said, there you go again, So it's a different world they live in.
These days kids are raised by mobile phones and iPads.
Yeah, and whatever Google says is right,
Yeah.
And they don't understand that Google can be written by any person, So rather than believing in the words of the scriptures, what Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita and everything, these guys are believing somebody. And then there's so many, just like whatever is happening now, there's so many theories going on what this virus is all about, Somebody is saying is that, oh, this is the pharmaceutical company, they just want to make a vaccine so they can sell it to everybody, Even devotees have so many things, They have so many of their own concoction going on, But I was just thinking, when I was reading about this, I was thinking, he's saying, we should see all the virus and everything, basically every living entity is same. And I was thinking, what is a virus? Is it also a living entity? If it is a living entity, how do we see them? We see them as they're coming here to kill us, or we see them as a living entity, a devotee of Krishna. But then if we go take it to the next level, we understand that this material energy is also part of Krishna. And energy is working according to the direction of Krishna. So those who are suffering through all these diseases and everything, it is because of their karma. If somebody is going through there, we understand this. This is because of what they did in the past. We can't, and it's temporary, Even if they die, it's temporary because they get another body. And then they keep going on, they keep suffering in there, as long as they're in the material world. So the main point is not to worry about it, to be distressed about what's going on in the material world, but try to help these people to understand about Krishna consciousness, so to make them Krishna conscious so we can get out of here. Otherwise, whatever we are suffering, this is going to continue on. This is not going to stop, And unfortunately, we have been here for, millions and millions of lifetime. Brahma's day, one day is 1,000 times the 4 yugas, If we live 400 years in this Kali Yuga, we're going to live 32,000 something, that many thousand times we have to take bath. Just to go through Kali Yuga, then you take the other yugas, then you take, a month of a year of Brahma. So even if we stay in 1 year of Brahma, we have taken millions and millions of lifetimes of birth. And our first birth was Brahma. So when we decided to come here, that's our first birth, because we are not contaminated at that time, but we wanted to be the controller and the creator and the enjoyer, so that's our first position. Now just imagine position of Brahma and where we are now. How much we have fallen down, how many times we have become demigods, probably already become Indra so many times, But what's the point? We are still here, we are still suffering, and even the birth as Brahma was temporary. The demigods were temporary, and this will also be temporary. So let's not worry about what we are going through. The idea is to get out of here, become Krishna conscious, and the best way to become Krishna conscious is you preach. If you preach about Krishna conscious, then Krishna actually helps you, because you are trying to pass his message to it. Then he gives the knowledge, because I don't know what to say. I am such a living small entity, living entity. But Prabhupada knows, so we pray to Prabhupada, pray to Gaur Nitai, because this is their movement. This is what they are trying to come here to preach, to use us in whatever way they choose, so that they can impart the knowledge, Prabhupada has given us everything, Just like another thing I was thinking, about Melbourne temple. Prabhupada said this is known different from Vrindavan. This is Vrindavan. Melbourne temple is Vrindavan. How many of you really believe that? If you are here, do you need to go to Vrindavan? Right? If you are here in this temple, we are in Vrindavan. And then if you look at it, there's Gaur Nitai there. Gaur Nitai is in Navadip. Right? Navadip is no different from Vrindavan. We got Radha Ballabha there. Same thing. We got Giriraj Maharaj there. Giriraj in Vrindavan. So this is Vrindavan. Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra. Right? They have taken that form just because of meditating on the devotees of, that's the aesthetic form. So this is Vrindavan. But do we believe in the words of us? And that's where we lack. We do not have faith in the words of the As I was telling about that in a past time where that hunter had complete faith in the word of the saint. And the result was that he attained Krishna. Even though he was a hunter, he was killing. And 3 days before, he didn't even know who Krishna was. So if we have faith in the words of the spiritual master, if we have the faith in the words of our, Prabhupada said, chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 regulative principle, and, have darshan, that's enough to go back to Godhead. Now don't try to say, no, that's not right, you have to chant 64 rounds. Have faith in the words of Prabhupada. He said that, we follow that, it will happen. But he didn't say just chant 16 rounds, at least 16 rounds, minimum 16 rounds,
Minimum 15 rounds?
Minimum 16 rounds, yeah. Yes, Mataji.
I was trying to understand a little the process of the Prachetas, because as a part of understanding what spirituality is, because if we revise a bit, they got first the association of a pure devotee like Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
So they got the process for perfection there, right? That chanting the mantras that Lord Shiva gave to them, and they got the success of that, the darshan of the Lord. So not just that, the Lord also gave them the benedictions of many blessings, and the fact that they would go back to the spiritual world. But not just that, they need to have the association again with the devotee, or pure devotee like
Jaya, yeah.
to continue their progress in their spiritual life. So I was trying to understand what actually means then perfection in the spirituality. Because they got the association with Shiva,
Mm-hmm.
as a pure devotee, they got the association of the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
and that wasn't enough. They need more. So it's perfect, more perfect,
And most perfect.
a constant evolving, and it's not static.
Yeah.
So it's continue, because it's more and more. And that point also the basic of everybody is the same.
Mm-hmm.
That was the teaching of the supposed complementary teaching of the Jaya Maharaj or Swami. But what that means to see everybody as a spiritual soul or saint, the implications of that knowledge, understanding, I'm just trying to understand that, because implies many things at the same time. Because it's not look like a simple, everybody is the same spiritual soul, but to reach that point, that realization of that implies knowing each other, we are not the body, and the roots of how the system, on the nature work.
Yeah, this is when you read something, and it's very good, before you go to bed, every day. Try to take and contemplate on this. Because contemplation is right. Most of the time we have this knowledge. Most of the Hare Krishna devotees who have taken initiation, they've all read Bhagavad Gita. Right? We have already know that we are not the body, we are the soul. But how many people have realized that? So that there is a difference there, realization. That's the main thing. Gyan and Vigyan, knowledge and realized knowledge. So how do you go from knowledge to realized knowledge is by contemplating on it. So you take a point, and just like you said that, okay, we are not this body, right? We are the soul. You are a soul, right? Then you start seeing, you practice that. So when you are looking, you don't look at, oh, she's a woman, or a man, or a bed, or anything. We look at, it's a soul, right? So how you actually reciprocate with that. Understand? So it's practice. And then that knowledge becomes Vigyan. We become realized knowledge. So this is where we are lacking. We are reading, but we are not putting that into practice. We are not seeing what the scripture is saying. So the more you associate with devotees, right? For example, a pure devotee, the way they deal with everybody, right? They don't see one is lower, higher, right? And you look at them and he says, look at Prabhupada, For example, let's just see what Prabhupada, right? When he started the movement, right? What kind of people he was associating? I was listening to Sundar Prabhu. He said, we didn't know, We'd come, we listen to Kirtan, we'll 1 hour Kirtan, good, right, everything, and Prabhupada stops and we say, wow, this was good, Then they go out and start smoking because they did not know anything better. But just by the association of a pure devotee, they keep seeing things, and then they started improving. But it also messy of the devotees. This is why sadhu sangha is very important. Because whatever is in their heart is just like if you are near fire, right? The heat from the fire warms you up. So similarly, a sadhu, his purity also gets into you. So by association of devotees, association of devotees does not mean that you sit down with a devotee and take prasadam and you talk all nonsense, Association of a devotee means that you ask questions. Okay, Prabhu, what do you think, I was doing this, I saw Krishna today, but I did not realize it. How many of us believe that that's Krishna there, there's Radha Ballabha there, that's Brajanandan there? We come, we pay our respect, okay, pay our dandavat, we go. How many of you ask, hey, Radharani, how are you, how are you, Krishna? If a friend comes to you, how many questions you ask them? Is that right? Right? We go and worship them, we dress them and we do it like, okay, let's do this nicely. Do you actually ask them, do you like what I'm doing, Is this the way you want me to dress you? We have to start treating them as persons. Then they're going to start talking. The reason, now you listen to Loknath Goswami, right? We chant his name every day, in the Guru Puja, because it was written by his disciple, right? He had a deity, Radha Vinod. He used to talk to the deities. The deity used to talk to him because he had complete faith that these deities were Krishna. But we do not have faith. How many times Prabhupada said these deities are known different from Krishna? This Gaur Nita is known different from Krishna. Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra are Nandan, Dauji and Subhadra Devi. But do we have that faith? We try to do what we think is right. Okay, we pay our dandavat, say our prayers, and then we go. When we cook something for Krishna, do we really say what Krishna wants to eat? Or it is what we want to eat and we give it to Krishna, I've seen devotees, as soon as they cook, they pack first, They make their own plate first before they give it to others. Is that the right mood? If you have got Krishna's mercy, you distribute it to everybody. You give it to everybody. If there's something left, you then take it. You don't stash it up, because I cook on festivals, and I've seen people who, if they take something somebody else cooked, it is different. They try to put away what they cooked, and then what's the mood there? Did I cook it for Krishna or did I do it for myself? You know what I'm saying? So we have to practice this. We take a word. We don't have to go too much deep in there. We just, for example, now you just focus on this thing. You are doing deity worship all the time, You go and talk to Krishna. The good thing is that at the moment, nobody is here after 10 o'clock. Right? The whole room is closed, They are persons. And we have experienced, them in our life. We ask for something. Right? I remember I came here from, I've told this before, but I'll tell you again just to emphasize the point. I was living in Gold Coast at the time. I was working there, and I came and we had a conference in Ballarat. It was a day before Nursing Appearance Day. So we came to the airport, they took us in a bus, we were in there. And I was in the plane and I was praying into the Lord Nrsimhadev, I'm coming to Melbourne, how can I not at least come and have your darshan, but we didn't have any transport. So I was praying there, I went there, and then this devotee who lived in Frankston, he came to me, not the devotee, one of the workmates, he came to me, he says, mate, can I come and stay with you? Because it was 3-day conference, it was all so far away. I said, no problem. I said, you just have to do one thing, Can you take me home, take me and drop me in Melbourne tonight, and then pick me up tomorrow morning? I said, no problems, So I came, went to Radha Ballabha's, Prabhu is, Sham Ballabha's place. He is a devotee from South Africa. I stayed there and I said, I'm coming, we're going to go to the temple, So he waited for me, I came here. By the time we came here, it was pretty late, And then it's not a big temple, so the temple was all full, So I went to actually pay dandavad to Prabhupada, And I was on that step, that close, right? And they were doing Abhishek there, right? And I was thinking, it'll be nice for me to actually take some maha for the family, right? I thought about it. Same instant, the pujari threw a garland from all the way there and hit me right on my face, and I just go like this, and there's a garland in my hand. Instant. It was not like I thought about there and I went 5 meters. I was just thinking about it. It was not even complete. And Krishna is merciful. He reciprocates. And we see that time and time again. Once I was making chutney and it was like 5 minutes, I'm not joking, right? 5 minutes, right? And we had forgot to make chutney, And I said, we have to make chutney, I put the chutney on the stove, I'm not joking, within 3 minutes it was done. It was boiling everything, Right, 3 minutes, and I said, we put it on the plate, and I said, this is not us. If we have a desire, and if you understand that we are not the doers, Krishna is doing it, they are just using us in whatever way, But the main thing is we have to have faith in the words of the scriptures. We have to faith in the words of Prabhupada. And then we have to take each of these points and then try to put it into practice, And the best thing to do is practice it, the person who are you living with. Do you treat them as another devotee? Do you see them as they're part of Krishna's devotee? Do you give them that respect and love? Forget about other people, Just if you have 3-4 people living in a house, do we have that relationship with them? Yeah. How can we be nice to others when we are not even nice to devotees, This is the thing, I have seen so many devotees, here they criticize other devotees, they did something wrong, they always, come on man. I always give an example, do you want to be a fly or a bee, Do you want to go and sit on a field? We all have problems. We have all got faults. We are living in the material world, right? And what we did in the past, we can't change it. We can't actually keep hanging on to that. We have to see what the person is doing now. We help them, You look at the good qualities in a person. But we don't practice that, We just try to, somebody does it. I usually tell, have a picture of a bee and a fly. Every morning look at it, what you want to be, Before you go to bed, you look at it, whether you are more of a fly today or more of a bee today. Did you go for the nectar in a person, or did you were looking at all the disqualification in a person? So the main thing is practice. That's what sadhana means. Sadhana means practice. Take a point and practice. We chant Krishna's name and see how properly we can chant. It says you should listen to the name, or you can remember qualities of Krishna, or you can remember pastimes of Krishna. Is that coming into your head? So slowly and slowly, it's not going to happen overnight. But if you are aware of it and we start practicing it, then it's going to eventually come, Take? Any other comments? So yeah, so it's different levels. Just like even in the modern school, the grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4 and things like that, right? So when we associate with devotees, like Lord Shiva is a pure devotee of Krishna. But he can only tell what the student can take, right? He knows everything. But if the other person is not ready at that time, right, then he just tells them that. You do this, you do this, you do that. And then come to that. But if you have faith in that word of the spiritual master, right, then you attain perfection. Then you get Krishna. Like Narad Muni, Narad Muni, yes. Valmiki, Valmiki, the one who wrote Ramayana, right? He was a hunter, right? He was so sinful that the place where he was, there were a pile of bones, like a hill, of that many living entities and people he had robbed and killed, And Narad Muni looked at him and he says, he can't even change Krishna's name, he's not even qualified. So instead of saying Rama, he said, say Mara. And he was saying Mara, 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 Mara. But he had faith in this word. And Mara, Mara eventually became Rama, 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 So that's the main thing, Spiritual masters, when we give us something, if we have faith in it, there is success there. How many people are here, say, oh, what's going to happen to us? We are so difficult, whether you're going to make it or not. I don't want to stay in this material. Yeah, if you don't have faith in a guru's word, then you won't get there. But if your spiritual master says, change 16 rounds, follow the 4 regulative principles, Prabhupada said, follow the festivals, have association of devotees, then there's guarantee. Right? Am I going back to Godhead? Yes, I am definitely going to Godhead. Am I going on my own account? No. It's going to happen on the mercy of my Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. I have absolutely no doubt about that. Is it going to happen in this lifetime? Don't know. Whether it's going to take another 100 lifetimes? Maybe. But if I have lived here for billions of lifetimes, what's another 100 lifetimes? Did you hear the pastime about that cobbler? And there was, do you know that? There was, Narad Muni was once going to see Lord Narayan. So he thought, okay, I better take some message from the people. So he went and there was a sadhu there, a pandit there. And he says, oh, I'm going to see Lord Narayan, And he said, do you have a message for him, And he said, just ask him, how many life it's going to take for me to go back, And then he went there was this cobbler, the shoemaker, and he asked, he was sitting under a banyan tree, and he said, okay, I'm going to see Lord Narayan. And he says, oh, you are so fortunate, Okay, do you have a message for him? He said, no, just ask him, when will be my turn, to get out of there. So Narad Muni went to Lord Narayan, and then after some time he said, okay, I have to go back, By the way, I've got this message from those 2 people. They want to know when it'll be their time to go, He said, tell that Brahman that it's going to take him 100 lifetimes. And he said, what about the cobbler? He said, this is his last life. And Narad Muni said, how can this be last life? This Brahman is preaching so nicely, is doing so many austerities, he's a pandit, he's so knowledgeable, right? And it's going to take him 100 lifetime, right? No, he said, 100 lifetime or 3 lifetime, something like that. And he said, how can that cobbler, this is his lifetime, last lifetime. He said, when you go there, you tell the cobbler, it's going to take you as many lifetimes as there are leaves on the tree. Now, you know how big the banyan trees are, right? How many leaves are there, right? And you tell the Brahman, it's going to take him 100 lifetimes, and then you're going to get the answer. So and then you also tell them that they're going to ask you, what was Lord Narayan doing? And he said he was putting a needle, the top hole where we put the thread, he was putting an elephant through it. Right? So he went there, Narad Muni came to the Brahman fest, and he says, oh, he came back, he said, yes. He said, oh, by the way, what was the Lord doing? He said he was putting an elephant through the needle. and this Brahman said, "You are crazy, How can you do that? How can you put such a big elephant through a small hole, And he says, so Narad Muni said, okay. He said, by the way, did you ask him my question, how many lifetimes it's going to take me? He said it's going to take you 100 lifetimes. Brahman said, 100 lifetimes? I've been working so hard, so this was my lifetime. If I have to, gonna go back 100 lifetimes, I might as well enjoy for the 99 and then walk out in the last one and then go back, So Narad Muni said, okay. And then he went to this Kobla and he asked him, he said, what is my Lord doing, He says, he was putting an elephant through the needle, And tears started falling through us. He says, this is how great my Lord is, He can put an elephant through the hole of a small needle, And Narad was shocked, because even Narad couldn't believe that you can do that, He said, how can you believe that, that you can put an elephant through that small hole, He said, what is impossible for my Lord? He said, look at this big tree that I'm sitting under. He put the whole tree in the small seed, Because from that small tree, the whole tree grew, And he said, how many lifetimes it's going to take me? And he says, as many as the leaves on the tree, And he became he said, finally the Lord has put me a number, Eventually I'm somewhere in the line that I'm going to go back, So this is the devotee, They have complete faith in Krishna. It doesn't matter what situation Krishna puts them, they serve Krishna nicely, So if you have faith in Krishna, you try to practice whatever is in there. You read. When you read too much, it's also not good, You read something and then you try to meditate on it, contemplate on it, We haven't understood, unfortunately, most of us haven't understood the first and second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Isn't that right? Because that's where the basic is, that's the, We are a soul. How many of you really understand that? We haven't, we haven't realized it, Tick. Any other comments? Did I answer your question? Tick, bro. Hare Krishna, Grantara, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki Jaya, Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jaya, Gaur Premanandi.